Good evening and welcome to Sean's Thoughts. You're here with me in this evening as I'm admiring this beautiful tree that I've lived alongside for the last 15 years. It's a truly glorious and wonderful friend of mine, and we've often shared a lot of our conversations out here. And, you know, as we move into this next segment of my journey and that which I wish to explore with you, I kind of wanted to pay tribute to this tree that has listened for countless years and has shared a lot of interesting stories and thoughts. Often I would have telephone calls out here where I would either counsel or, help other people as well as, of course, help myself because I found one of the greatest ways to help myself was to do this exact podcast. Not just this podcast, but also the podcast that I did with Candid Talks and Possibilities Live and so many other things. And well, most of these podcasts were done out in nature. A lot of them were done here where I stand right now in front of this beautiful, beautiful tree. That's a very unique tree, at least to me, because it seems to, in many cases, grow backwards. And what I mean by that is that, you know, in the beginning of this year, there was, the small leaves, and then came the red leaves, and then came the green leaves, which are starting to come. And yeah, it's an interesting tree and definitely a really good friend of mine. One of the reasons why I wanted to come on right now is because today, earlier, I did a rather powerfully energetic, we'll call it, podcast where I made a message out to, what I believe or what I'm led to believe is essentially infringing on my sovereignty. And so I wanted to ensure that I got on here again and shared with you that, the world is beautiful. Actually, I just went for a pretty decent walk in my neighborhood and I was blown away by the number of birds that were singing and chirping away and the amount of flies that were in these big orb like spaces flying around each other. I mean, there was a considerable amount tonight, and I passed by these other trees that, 2 weeks ago they were spitting out their cherry blossoms in vibrant abundance, and tonight they are so filled with leaves. I hope to actually perhaps even go do a podcast underneath them, although they are just above a very highly trafficked sidewalk. So we'll see what happens with that. But yet it's such a glorious, amazing beauty that nature is essentially giving us in abundance right now. And I wanted to share that celebration that I'm having with my tree, my one of my best friends, you could say. See, as I've often talked about before, I believe there's a lot more to trees than, you know, things that hold up leaves with branches that people play on and such. I believe that they do have a nature within them that goes far beyond that which we can currently perceive. And, trees are connected with not only Nature, but also with all of the creatures of nature, which go far beyond mammals and reptiles and insects and such, I believe. And so I kind of wanted to, showcase my beautiful tree. And anyways, so and to let you know that, everything is grand and wonderful. Actually, right now, I am actually filming and I'm going to adjust the camera. See, so many other times I was always worried about what kind of frame the camera had, and if I moved the camera and if it moved a little bit, then I would redo the video and such. But now I recognize, on the fly, we can just change and make those changes because that's essentially what life is about. It's about the never ending change that we experience, and that leads us to other unique experiences. And so I just adjusted it to look up a little higher because there are some people coming into the building and, I don't necessarily want to add people, random people that I may not even know into my podcast. And so anyways, as I was saying, I wanted to come on here because there was somewhat of a celebration of senses, and that I told my phone today that it was going to load up Rumble Studio. And as if you've heard in my previous podcast, I was mentioning before that Rumble Studio wasn't working on my phone, that it would keep kicking me out every time that I logged in. So today, after that video that I created, where I literally told all those interferers, whatever we want to call them, to essentially leave my reality. And lo and behold, Rumble Studio is working now. So I'm actually able to create videos that go from Rumble Studio and they stream over onto YouTube as well, making the whole uploading process of my podcasts a lot more simpler. In the future, I definitely wish to stream on Apple and Spotify, and that's definitely something within my um, it's on my horizon. It's within my radar screen, anyways. And I definitely hope to share my thoughts. Actually, today I did a very interesting video, and I hope that you'll go into the short sections of my channel because this video essentially did three things. It was a 16, 17-second short where it simply utilized my recent Patreon offerings that I had put up, and one specifically, Transmission, a new series or an original TV series that I wrote. And I used the characters from that series and some of the inspirations of the poster that I recently created. And I created a 17-second short, essentially promoting my Sean's Thoughts podcast. So I hope that you'll go in there and share that. It's kind of really interesting, and it really definitely demonstrated the immense power that AI has. Like this video, although it did take me an hour to create, in the past, it would have taken a considerable amount of effort. And the reason, or maybe one of the reasons why I did it this way, is because in the world we live in right now, everyone's looking for splashy. They're looking for like high res and, very impacting. And so I truly wish to get my vision of my screenplay out there for the world. I had actually written Transmission, an 8-episode first season, as well as the storyboard for the second season, approximately 5 to 6 years ago. And yet there was so many layers of interference that essentially prohibited me from getting it out there. Now, one of those biggest layers was me, myself, and I, the three of us, because there was a layer of self confidence and self doubt that had been instilled in me, and since I was a child. And often when I was a child, I had parental figures and others tell me that I was a know it all because I often would. I'll let the motorbike go by. Thank you for your loud motorbike. Anyways, I would often let people in my life disrupt what I believed was possible, telling me or painting me a picture what they thought that my future was. That old conversation of, where will you be in 10 years? Well, I didn't know where I was going to be in 10 years, but I definitely got told where I was going to be. And yet, where I wanted to be was always in the moment that I was in. And anyways, back to the transmission or and actually something really cool happened when I was working with the AI to create that poster, which you'll see as part of the background of that video. They actually gave me an awesome idea for whether it's the first season's title, the first episode's title, I'm not sure, but I originally had it called Transmission, and then I titled my first episode. It rewrote or resuggested what I should title it, and it was called The First Signal. I was like, oh my gosh, that works out perfect for the title of the first episode because it truly does encapsulate where I believe that first episode goes because, as with all of our awakening journeys, there's always that first transmission, that first episode, that first impulse that we have within us, our intuition. And that's essentially what I believe a lot of education is, especially elementary education. It's essentially detaching us from listening to our intuitive hits. And so that concept or that title for the first episode is awesome. the first signal, and it's definitely not the last. I definitely found that as I moved through, different parts of my own healing process, I began to connect with other signals. And that's essentially what led me to put out that podcast. Now, this particular podcast currently was live streamed only on YouTube, so you won't find it on Rumble yet. And yet, if it gets uploaded properly, which I explained in that podcast, that particular podcast and all of my podcasts going further are essentially protected by God, protected by love, protected by, a new force. And it's not necessarily new, it's the force which is reclaiming Earth. And that should anyone essentially ever affect my podcasts again, that there will be critical responses to them, not by me, but by whatever it is that shall decide that it's going to do that. Because, I believe that everyone in the world deserves to be free. Everyone in the world deserves to be sovereign and to live the life that they would choose to live. And if what I'm hearing on the GIA reports, and I use if, but I don't really mean F, I more mean when more people realize the level of control and manipulation that our world had upon us, there's going to be great, vast amounts of potential healing that can perhaps spread very exponentially across our planet. And with that being said, there will be an immense possibility of new chances, new opportunities, new trials, yes, but at the same time, we will be blasted off. Just like Team Rocket gets done at every single Pokemon episode, we'll be blasted off into a new future where potential and possibilities are limitless. It's truly, without that drug in that movie, really quite limitless. I mean, the things that I see and the possibilities I envision in my series I foresee, I believe are already a possibility far beyond what, the average person would sit and look at what is in the world around them and what is possible. There is so much advanced technology and it's coming out in droves right now. There's real reasons behind why. The other day I was looking at a new vehicle called the Nissan Aria, and this vehicle actually says that it has the potential for wireless charging. Think about that for a second. Wireless charging. That means the car doesn't need to connect up to that wire in order to get energy. It's able to get energy out of the air. Where now, of course, their advertising is you got to drive up and stand close by the chargers, but the possibilities of that technology, just the idea that perhaps the technology in our world, the ones that we do use right now, maybe there's limiters on there. I was having a conversation with my cousin about phones, and he was telling me about a video that he watched, and I actually watched a commercial about it as well, that our phones are much more advanced than we believe them to be, and that there has been limiters or essentially limiting modifiers put on our phones in order to give us the illusion perhaps of getting a new phone every year. And of course, you could possibly just change the exterior box of the phone, make the screen a little bit bigger, and limit the ability for that phone. Perhaps my old 3G phone, which had a really good camera in it, and I loved that phone, and my XR phone, I loved that as well. Perhaps those phones actually had the ability to be just as powerful as the one that I am using right now. And so just expanding on that possibility leads us to realize maybe there is a much more beautiful world all around us. And, when I was first connecting with the GIA reports, and that's the Global Intelligence Agency reports, they often, or she, Kim, often talked about all of these different plans she had for, a marketplace where everyone in the world could sell online and not have to worry about, other corporations stepping in and even have their own logistics and shipping. And there was other things. And by the way, marketplace did get realized to a limited degree at the time, but still it's there. It's in its infancy. also other plans such as an organization called CARE, where that stands for the Center and the Amnesty of the Restoration of Earth. And there was other plans such as another project called Assurance, where every type of medical could possibly be covered, allowing us to choose how we wanted to heal ourselves. So there are other lots of other possibilities. Now, of course, there are other possibilities that have often been talked about for decades. One of them is called Jasara Nasara. And this whole idea was, free money for everyone. But the challenge with that is that inflation is real. If you have one apple and suddenly everyone gets a whole bunch of money, well, that one apple is going to be a lot more expensive. So I always realized that although the fairy tale of Jasara Nasara was something that I, resonated with when I first started awakening, the reality of it is that it wouldn't go. It would turn a lot of our civilization into chaos. Simply erasing everything necessarily wouldn't allow us to strive or perhaps thrive to be the best versions of ourselves. And so that type of and so yeah, going back to the unlimited possibilities, even the possibilities of having cars that could charge themselves on roads that had, the energy to charge them just through the panels of the road. That technology is out. As well as I also saw this technology that they labeled free energy, where they could put 3 units or 2 units of power into this little cube, and then the cube would essentially generate energy, and then it would also, at the end of the cycle, it would take a portion of that energy and reinvest itself back in. And so therefore it allowed for types of free energy. Even Kim showed us this video or this diagram of a neutrino battery, and that would have the ability to perhaps, power a whole entire house, or to power a maglev train. And things like that we have anti-gravity already. We have the TR3B. It's been well known. It's actually a patented technology. It's a vehicle that does levitate. Now, once again, a lot of the things I tell you are things that I see on the internet. There are things that I've seen in videos that other people have shown me. And now, through my discernment, I still hold reservations that when it comes into my life, of course, I'll be able to actually physically show it. But yet, the important part of that whole aspect is the idea of possibility. It's the idea of what could be rather than the idea of what we see, because what we see with our eyes oftentimes is distorted by our own perception, by our own experiences and our own filters. We tell ourselves stories about things, about people we see in our lives. We tell ourselves stories about, people we don't even know that they're on the news, and then we create a fabricated story, and people ask us more of our opinion, and after time a lot of that ends up like morphing into something that is a fairy tale, is untrue. And we already have enough fairy tales on our planet, and these fairy tales possibly could be true, once again bringing all that together to create a distortion. And that distortion is our perception. But yet when we clear away what we're seeing, not necessarily what we're actually experiencing, but when we clear away those things in our world that we see through other people's eyes, through movies that we watched, through fairy tales that people tell us, through, oh, I heard that so and so said to so and so that said to so and so that that's not going to work. If we get rid of all of that naysaying, then perhaps there are a large more potential possibilities. And especially when someone coming to us with an amazing idea not going to work, perhaps would be a better way to have this world that we all desire to do, is to support them regardless of whether we think it's going to work or not. See, that's the challenge I had with this podcast. I don't know if this is the way that, people in my own physical life felt. Maybe they thought that what I was doing was whatever they felt it was. And yet, if they had only possibly supported me, there goes that loud motorbike again. Anyways, if they had possibly supported me long ago, perhaps things would be different. Yet I fully understand, accept, and embrace that I had to go on the journey that I'm on. And getting all the way to the point now that I started off, I literally told my phone Rumble Studio was going to work. And lo and behold, it worked. And I'm here and I'm sharing this information with you that perhaps I might have not done tonight. And yet, perhaps there's someone out there right now that will eventually hear this message and it will inspire them to be the change in their own lives. Maybe it's that person screaming in the background right now. I'm not sure, but you know, everything has a reason. We're all on a path. And honestly, we're on a path to a brand new, bright future where the only way to go is back up. And some people call it ascension, other people call it enlightenment, whatever it is. It's the path in, I believe, that many people who are willing is the key to look inside themselves and find that potential for healing. It's those people who, are having those dream boards, those ideas and those visions of the future that they would prefer to live, who are spending time not fixing themselves because we are where we are, but improving, becoming better versions of ourselves, reaching for that higher aspiration. One of the lessons that I learned when I was working with my mentor, Steve Scott, and I forgot the other guy's name, but we'll go with just Steve Scott for now, is often they would say, shoot for the moon. Because when you shoot for the moon, no matter where it lands, no matter where that bullet lands, it'll be higher than just shooting for, the horizon or just shooting for what could be. And so, therefore, reaching for something that perhaps seems out of your grasp will allow you to end up a little bit lower than that, if you get what I mean by that. So, always imagine shooting for the moon, and therefore, anything or any outcome that you essentially fall upon will definitely be better than whatever target you aimed at if it was from a low vantage point. And so, with that being said, I want to leave this video at here. I'm so grateful that Rumble worked. And as always, I highly recommend that you either, I'm going to go with either you share your time and attention on, joining with me on Patreon, becoming part of the community, which is going to shift our world. I know it. This community is going to be amazing. And there's already a few amazing people in there. And I truly do, whatever word, ask, plead, encourage, um, question, why aren't you there yet? Whatever it is. Or if you're not ready for that yet, then definitely go into the playlists or the podcasts of either Rumble or YouTube. And I'll, of course, post it at the end of the YouTube video when this gets published. But spend some time going through my amazing videos called Do No Thing Challenge Experience. And these are small tidbit experiences, 3 minutes, well, between 88 seconds to 3 minutes, where you are immersed within beautiful music of Chris Collins. It's meditative experience exponential, with a lot of my various, I'll call them moving portraits, but they're not part of that particular series. But they're frames that I took that I really enjoyed being there to experience that. And I want you to share those experiences with me because these are awesome, short, meditative experiences where you can essentially immerse yourself within the moment of now. And therefore, perhaps just by going along with that experience, maybe you'll get to where I was or where I am a lot faster than me. And if we could do that, if we could accelerate the healing process of our whole planet, then maybe all of the trees will be fruiting by the end of the summer. And we will have more food than we could ever imagine. But it's up to us to get ourselves there therefore ripple out to our communities. And when they're ready, they'll get themselves there. And together we will step out into the grassy fields, the mountain pastures, the orchards, whatever it is that you imagine blissful, quiet tranquility to be, we'll get there together. And when we do that, we're having a huge party. Actually, it's often talked about on the chat rooms of the UNN community that the moment all of this craziness in our world is over, we're going to have a massive party to celebrate every single person who contributed to getting us and allowing us to essentially break free of the prison that we've all been in unknowingly for most. So, anyways, I want to thank you to the one person who remained here constantly. I don't have a view of any sort of chat or anything like that right now on this particular Rumble studio because I am using a mobile device. But I thank you sincerely. And I also thank every single person who came and left from this particular podcast because as I've mentioned before, even spending a few minutes in connection with me, with the community, with everything that I connect with myself, essentially allows us to be more powerful, more stronger, and together we're going to do it because we've already done it. It's just a matter of us realizing it. So thank you so much for sharing your attention with me and looking at my tree here. And I hope to hear your comments in the comment section of the video after it becomes fully posted. And honestly, on every single video that I do, leave an emoji. Just say you were there. Let me know, not for my own purposes, but for the grander scheme of things. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful night and love you so much.